In light of the insightful feedback and detailed discussions from the community, it's clear that the original analysis of a hypothetical war between the Star Wars and Star Trek universes requires a more nuanced approach. The comments highlighted several critical aspects, particularly emphasizing the technological superiority of Star Trek factions, the strategic advantages conferred by their advanced sensor and cloaking technologies, and the potential game-changing involvement of omnipotent entities like the Q Continuum. Star Trek's advanced sensor arrays, capable of detecting and analyzing objects from light years away, would provide a significant intelligence advantage over Star Wars factions, whose sensor ranges are typically limited to within a star system. This disparity would allow Starfleet and its allies to monitor and anticipate Imperial movements with precision, enabling preemptive strikes and evasive maneuvers that the Empire would struggle to counter. Moreover, the utilization of cloaking technology by factions such as the Romulans and Klingon would render their ships virtually undetectable to Star Wars sensors. This stealth capability would facilitate surprise attacks, sabotage missions, and reconnaissance operations deep within enemy territory, further tipping the scales in favor of Star Trek factions. The involvement of godlike beings, such as the Q Continuum, introduces an element of unpredictability and overwhelming power that could decisively influence the outcome of the conflict. As some commenters noted, a single intervention by a Q entity could nullify entire fleets or reset the course of events, underscoring the immense power disparity introduced by such beings. Additionally, the potential for the Borg to assimilate Force-sensitive individuals raises intriguing possibilities. If successful, this could lead to the emergence of Borg drones wielding Force abilities, creating a formidable hybrid threat that combines the adaptability of the Borg with the mystical powers of the Force. Considering these factors, the revised assessment acknowledges the formidable capabilities of Star Trek factions, particularly in terms of technology, strategy, and the influence of higher dimensional entities. While the vast numbers and mystical elements of the Star Wars universe present significant challenges, the strategic advantages and unique assets of the Star Trek universe could potentially lead to a different outcome than previously concluded. This updated perspective aims to provide a more balanced and comprehensive analysis, reflecting the depth and complexity of both universes as highlighted by the community's valuable contributions. Across the infinite dark, where one universe ends and another begins, a singular rift tears through subspace and hyperspace alike, stitching together two galaxies that were never meant to meet. On one side lies the Star Wars galaxy, a sprawling ancient civilization shaped by the metaphysical tides of the Force, home to trillions of beings, where war is not an aberration but the natural state of things. On the other, the Star Trek universe, a realm of logic, diplomacy, and scientific progress, led by the United Federation of Planets but challenged constantly by shadowy powers, godlike entities, and existential threats from the Gamma and Delta quadrants. When these worlds collide, the war that follows becomes not merely a clash of technology or ideology, it is a total collision of cosmologies. Everything from the biological to the divine is drawn into the vortex. The war begins not with armies, but with contact. A Dominion scout vessel in the Gamma Quadrant, utilizing long-range subspace telemetry, detects a strange rupture near the Bajoran wormhole, one that defies known physics. Starfleet deploys the USS Voyager, retrofitted with 32nd century tech and commanded by Admiral Janeway, to investigate. Simultaneously, a Sith Eternal Scout frigate, operating near the unknown regions, registers similar anomalies through its Force-attuned navigators. When Voyager emerges from the rift and encounters a Sith command ship, neither side knows how to interpret the other's presence. Janeway attempts first contact. The Sith captain, interpreting this as a deception, fires. Voyager retreats, but not before capturing sensor logs and telemetry. Back in their respective universes, fleets begin to mobilize. The first real battles erupt in isolated systems, skirmishes at first, then massacres. The Klingon Empire sends several birds of prey to investigate the rift. They encounter Mandalorian warbands under the banner of the Children of the Watch. The battle is savage and close quarters, featuring batleths against vibroblades, disruptors against wrist-mounted blasters. Though Mandalorians fight with berserker zeal and jetpack-driven mobility, Klingon honor and cohesion push them back. Yet this is but a taste. The Jedi Council, now rebuilding under Rey's leadership, sends ambassadors to warn of the rift's potential spiritual consequences. The Vulcan High Council, reading quantum field anomalies in meditation, agrees. But diplomatic efforts fail when a rogue separatist remnant, hiding in the shadows since the Clone Wars, launches a full assault on a Starfleet deep space relay. The war is declared not by treaty, but by fire. Starfleet, the Klingon, Romulans, Cardassians, Ferengi, and even the newly aligned Tholians and Gorn form a loose coalition, dubbed the Quadrant Accord, under the shared interest of survival. The Dominion pledges support through the Vorta envoy Weyant 10, who sees potential to expand into this newly accessible galactic frontier. The Borg begin assimilating droids recovered from downed separatist ships. In the Delta Quadrant, Species 8472, the fluidic space-dwelling biomechanical entities, study captured Kyber crystal energy and determine it violates the natural order. They declare galactic sterilization their goal. Meanwhile, the Star Wars galaxy responds in kind. The Galactic Empire, First Order remnants, Hutt Cartel, Pikes, Crimson Dawn, and even the Night Sisters of Dathomir assemble under a fractured but coordinated response, each seeking their own gain in the new frontier. On the front lines, the battles are terrifyingly diverse. A Romulan Deridex-class warbird cloaks and slips into Coruscant's orbit, attempting sabotage. But the planet is protected by planetary ray and particle shields, and the Jedi Temple's presence warns of their intrusion through Force precognition. Jedi interceptors deploy, led by Rey and a resurrected Cal Kestis. Romulan security teams are overwhelmed not by numbers, but by uncanny foreknowledge. Lightsabers slice through duranium with ease, but tricorders record and adapt. Elsewhere, the Borg face the Sith. The first attempted assimilation of a dark side adept ends in disaster. Sith corruption distorts the neural link, turning entire cubes mad. However, when the Borg encounter a fallen Jedi with suppressed midichlorians, they adapt. A new queen emerges, half machine, half force-tuned, whose drones can resist mind tricks and drain life energy. The war escalates beyond matter and metal. The Federation leans on its strengths: sensors that can detect cloaked vessels light years away, transporter assaults, photon and quantum torpedoes that fire while in warp, and shields that withstand the coronas of stars. In one assault, the USS Enterprise E warps into the Exegol system, bypasses the fleet entirely using subspace tunneling, and transports explosives into the hangar bays of Sith Star Destroyers before warping out. Entire ships vanish in explosions. But the Empire counters with gravity well generators and interdiction cruisers that collapse warp corridors and strand ships mid-transit. Their numbers are staggering. For every Federation dreadnought, the Empire sends 1,000 Star Destroyers. The scale becomes overwhelming. Starfleet begins relying heavily on Romulan cloaking tactics and guerrilla engagements, using starbases as decoys. The Bajoran prophets intervene briefly, preventing a full-scale invasion of Bajorans by causing time anomalies around Deep Space Nine. Star Wars forces, unable to comprehend non-linear time, retreat in confusion. The ground war is bloodier. On Ryloth, Jem'Hadar clash with clone troopers and stormtroopers across desert ridges and city ruins. The Jem'Hadar are bred for victory, but the clones fight with precision and coordination unmatched by any non-force military. Droids march endlessly, their circuits reprogrammed by assimilated Borg nanoprobes, creating hybrid monstrosities with the speed of machines and the hive mind of the collective. Starfleet security officers engage Hutt mercenaries on Nar Shaddaa, where Ferengi traders arm both sides. The economic war becomes brutal as well. Federation replicator technology threatens the galactic credit standard, causing collapse on Corellia and Mon Cala. In retaliation, the Empire launches cyber attacks against Memory Alpha, corrupting its star charts and logistical data. Psychic warfare becomes prominent. The Betazoids join with the Jedi in resisting dark side mental invasions. The Vulcans attempt to study the Force empirically, identifying it as a subspace consciousness field. The Sith, in turn, begin targeting telepaths with Force insanity and Sith alchemy. One by one, entire telepathic enclaves fall silent. The Dominion uses their shape-shifting founders to impersonate high-ranking Resistance officials, nearly causing a schism between the Jedi and Republic military. Only an empathic Trill, hosting a joined symbiont with knowledge of the Force-sensitive Myriolans, uncovers the deception. The collaboration between Jedi and Vulcan telepaths forms the Psi-Link Initiative, able to intercept tactical thoughts across enemy lines, but it comes at a cost: massive psychic burnout. Then comes the apocalypse. The Q Continuum observes. Q himself appears to Picard, watching from a metaphysical distance. "What have you done, mon capitaine?" he muses. He snaps his fingers. A segment of the Star Wars fleet vanishes, teleported into the void. The balance of power shifts. But the Force responds. In a deep meditative trance, Yoda's lingering Force ghost communicates with ancient Force spirits from Mortis. They intervene, manifesting avatars in the material plane, battling the Q Continuum in a conflict beyond perception. Neither side emerges victorious. The timelines fracture. Alternate realities splinter. One where Luke becomes the new Q, one where the Borg assimilate Coruscant, one where the Federation becomes a galactic theocracy ruled by data integrated with the holocron network. But these are echoes. In the prime reality, the war continues. The final battle occurs at the galactic seam, a starless region where hyperspace and warp signatures destabilize. The Empire's Exegol fleet, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, faces off against a united Trek alliance. Sovereign-class ships, cloaked warbirds, Jem'Hadar fighters, Tholian webweavers, and even Species 8472 bioships. The sky is filled with quantum torpedoes, ion beams, proton salvos, and Kyber-induced superlasers. The Borg, now fragmented between splinter queens, attack both sides indiscriminately. The Force surges. The Q vanish. The balance hangs by a thread. In the end, it is not tech, nor numbers, nor magic that decides the outcome. It is a surrender. The Trill, the Jedi, the Vulcans, and even Lando Calrissian meet in neutral territory, a terraformed moon overseen by the Organians, now awakened by the chaos. A truce is signed. The Star Wars galaxy agrees to halt expansion beyond the rift. The Federation agrees not to export its technology into Force-sensitive regions. The Borg are isolated within a temporal stasis shell maintained by a joint Jedi, 8472 Pact. Q returns, winks at Picard, and says, "Not bad. For mortals. There is no absolute victory. But in terms of warfare alone, of sheer destructive power, scale, and metaphysical chaos, Star Wars has the upper hand. Its trillion-strong armies, planet-killing weapons, and Force-driven miracles defy Trek's rationalism. Yet in terms of strategic intelligence, sensor reach, cloaking stealth, and godlike intervention, Trek could outmaneuver them, perhaps even dismantle their structure over time. But that's the truth of it. Star Trek might win through patience, wit, and diplomacy. Star Wars would win through sheer mythic inevitability. And so the stars are quiet again, until someone fires the first shot.